said one thing. I was choosing to believe the best, which is borrowed from First Corinthians, where it's like, no, love believes the best.
Yeah.
And what's powerful about that is, in order to believe the best, you got to see the worst. You got to see the worst and the best, and you're choosing to believe the best, but you got to see the worst.
Yeah.
And I think there's just some ugly truths about America that are realities that, listen, man, if you're going to believe me when I say that God is good, I also want you to believe me when I say America is a racist country, because I'm telling the truth in both of them.
And I know it's abrasive to hear those words that you just said in your ear. I understand that. But at the same time, it's like, I wouldn't have believed it. I was on that side of just like, no, everything's good, until I actually saw it. And people who know me know I'm not putting on for anybody. I'm not a clout chaser. I'm not any of that stuff. But I can tell you that I saw things disappear, evidence, all this stuff. It still is jarring. It's jarring for me to sit back and think, like, they really tried to like mess over my brother. No, they didn't try to. They did. They did.
Come on.
3 favorites.
How many times we seen it? How many bodies to count is increasing? By the time that you find out you're grieving, the cycle's repeating. This is American Pie. This is the part where we barely surprised. This is the part where we scared to strive. Sick of the coffins and burying lives. This type of loss that can wear on your mind, wear on your soul. Where do we go? How do we cope when somebody's plotting their shots while we shopping at grocery store?
Man, let's start off with Coffee Skin. The album starts off with a talk by John O, talking about coffee and grief and making that connection, which is a very dope just like backdrop to like this whole concept of grief. It's like everybody understands that, because either you're a coffee drinker, or some people just flat out hate coffee, but they have an opinion on coffee. I'm not much of a coffee drinker. I have my tea sitting right here. But I mess with coffee every once in a while if I need to like wake up at work. But so it introduces this concept of coffee and adding sugars and milks to it to kind of dumb it down. And that brings me to Coffee Skin, because I feel like sometimes as black males especially, and black women, black women as well, we have to sometimes code switch. It's almost like we have to like, in that same, using that same metaphor, we have to like add milk to ourselves to make ourselves more palatable to them. We have to add sugar to ourselves to make ourselves more palatable to other races at times. And another reason, was that intentional with the Coffee Skin?
That actually came later as the song developed. You can hear in the sample, "We Want Freedom." So for a while, this song was called Freedom, and it only had the first part, where forgive me if I get the year wrong, I believe it was in 2022, where there was a shooting at a grocery store in Buffalo that was racially motivated. You can hear those bars while somebody plotting their shots while we shopping at grocery stores. So that was it was written around that time. And then I'm referencing Dylan Roof and like, y'all took that man to Burger King after he just killed, you know what I'm saying? So for a while, this song was called Freedom. And what I did not want to let it sit with, like, our racial trauma is not our identity. So even when the history of African Americans starts with slavery, it's like, man, there was so much before that. Our racial trauma, it does not define us. It is not our identity. So I didn't want to let the song sit there. So the second part came, I wanted to use the same sample, which is in there. Take that flip that I did from the first one, flip it again. And just in my bar writing, it was like, no, we're a people of strength. We're a people of character. We're a people of pride. We're a people of heart. And that's where the heart gold came from. And Skin Coffee was just written very naturally, but God ordained in that I wasn't trying to connect to the coffee metaphors and other songs. I was trying to write authentically, and the Lord weaved it to where like, oh, there's this coffee theme that goes all throughout the album. So it was unintentional, but I would argue God ordained.
Yeah, that was dope. That was dope. And a quick I won't go into all the detail, but there is a song off of Sunshine that I can honestly say I've only listened to it all the way through twice in my life. And I'm obviously, I'm a big fan of yours. I couldn't listen to it. TSNK.
Yeah, it's tough.
I couldn't listen to it.
Yeah.
And I had to speaking of grief, and kind of never really thought I looked at it this way. Growing up, I had a very idealistic mindset. I almost believed the hype about this is gonna sound bad, it might get me in trouble, but I don't care. Almost believed all the hype that America had. I remember saying out of my mouth, I said this on Facebook, late 2000s. America is easily the greatest country in the world. And I was arguing with people about it. My blood brother, my oldest brother, sent me a message. He was like, B, come here. Because the comment that I made out of my mouth, I said, if you took 100 people and line them up in front of all the countries in the world, at least 90% will come live in America, because it's America. And he was just like, he was like, and I've always been like, I no shame in saying, I was always just kind of naive growing up. I just thought I believed the best. I believe the best of people. Like, not only is glass half full, but hey, look, it's in a nice room on a table that has 4 legs. The temperature is perfect in here. Like, that's just kind of how I roll. And and when racial things popped off around me, and it did throughout my life, but I just always just kind of swept it under the rug, like, it's okay. It wasn't until the early 2010s to where my other blood brother had a run-in with law enforcement and ruined his life, covered it up. I saw it in real time, and I was just like, but I was so locked into, like, and I wasn't going to try to say all this, but I wasn't there for my brother the way I needed to be, because I was so locked into like this mindset of like, it can't be this bad. It can't be this. So I wasn't going to the court cases. I have a voicemail that I've spoke out to my brother, like 9 minutes long, just to send it to him, just to apologize for not being there for him. I still haven't sent it to him. He'll probably watch this, and I need to click send on it. But it's, I had to grieve this idea of this, like, that we have it all together.
There it is.
And if we're honest, I think that we all need to do that. That maybe we're not all cracked to where we say we are. So I didn't plan on saying that, but hey, you're here.
I love it, bro. I think grief brings up a lot out of us that we didn't know was there, or even that we did know was there and just didn't want to say out loud. You said one thing, I was choosing to believe the best, which is borrowed from 1 Corinthians, where it's like, no, love believes the best. And what's powerful about that is, in order to believe the best, you got to see the worst. You got to see the worst and the best. And you're choosing to believe the best, but you got to see the worst. And I think there's just some ugly truths about America that are realities that, listen, man, if you're going to believe me when I say that God is good, I also want you to believe me when I say America is a racist country, because I'm telling the truth in both of them. Now, we're going to choose to see half full at times, because at times I don't even think that sort of view is necessary. There does need to be sobriety in order for things to shift. But in order to believe the best, you got to see the worst. And the first half of Coffee Skin very clearly calls out the worst in America.
Right. And I know it's abrasive to hear those words that you just said in your ear. I understand that. But at the same time, it's like, I wouldn't have believed it. I was on that side of just like, no, everything's good, until I actually saw it. And people who know me, I'm not putting on for anybody. I'm not a clout chaser. I'm not any of that stuff. But I can tell you that I saw things disappear, evidence, all this stuff. It still is jarring. It's jarring for me to sit back and think, like, they really tried to, like, mess over my brother. No, they didn't try to. They did. They did. His faith was shaken. It's I can go on and on, but I won't. But I will say that that's part of the reason why like my show is called the Be Positive Music Show. Like the whole Be Positive thing isn't because like the old me of just seeing all the good. It's understanding how the worst of it, but still understanding that God is still good in it, and that I still will that I'll still trust in him being sovereign and walking this thing out. So man, this and that's why I'm so excited that you're here, is because this album brought all this out of me. Like I'm sitting here thinking about like my life choices, the how I grew up, and when my mentality changed from being like this young, naive, just everything's awesome guy to like getting shown firsthand is what this world can be. So that was only Coffee Skin. Let's keep moving.